We have a lot to get to, starting with Minneapolis. This is not going to be a show for the week. We're either going to end up friends after this or not. And that's the way that one's going to go. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Let the show begin. I wish I never brainwashed myself. Not quite sure what else we're supposed to say after that. The people who support gender-affirming care are monsters. And gender-affirming care exists as a term to allow them to be monsters. I apologize for nothing. The people who support the abuse of children, who allow children to think they can change their gender, the adults who think they can change their gender, they are mentally ill. They are wrong, and we should say so. But anybody who pushes the idea of gender-affirming care is a monster, is a danger to children, and it is a signal, it is a warning not to let them near your kids. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do at TonyKatz.com. This is true of teachers. This is true of administrators. This is true of parents. This is true of doctors. They are not, because they have an MD after their name, somehow above it all and beyond reproach and incapable of any level of failure. They can be just as violent, just as evil, just as hateful, and just as dangerous. If a doctor believes in gender-affirming care, that doctor is an abuser and should not be allowed to practice medicine. Any hospital that's willing to do top surgery or engage in these practices is a hospital that favors the mutilation of children, and they should not only get no dollars, they should be shut down. We are a society that must demand that children are protected, more often than not from themselves, but without question, protected from brutal, disgusting, despicable adults who claim that they're there to help. No one in favor of gender-affirming care can ever help. All they can do is create a disaster, engage in mutilation, engage in abuse, and leave a child absolutely destroyed. The line, "I wish I never brainwashed myself," came from this guy who murdered 2 children, injured 17 in Minneapolis, who shot up this church, this school and church. It's a man. Now, I don't really care what it is that Jake Tapper wants to say. I don't give a good holy damn about Jake Tapper. By the way, there is no kindness coming from me today, so maybe a little rougher than you normally get from me. Jake Tapper can go to hell. Because when you're talking about a murderer, when you are speaking so clearly about a murderer, you do not concern yourself with whether or not you've got the right pronoun being used, but not CNN. Oh no, not CNN at all.
Minneapolis Star-Tribune, just as another piece of the puzzle as to who the shooter was. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune says, according to court records, because there's been some confusion about what the shooter's name was.
Yes.
Robin Westman's mother applied to change her child's name in 2019. It was at one point Robert Paul Westman.
Correct.
But since she identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage, it's now Robin Westman.
That is CNN buying into mental illness. Who cares if he thought he was a girl? He was never a girl. He will never be a girl. No man will ever be a woman. No woman will ever be a man. Don't tell me that I'm not being kind. It is not kind to brainwash, not kind to abuse, not kind to mutilate children. We're right and they're wrong. And for those people on the side of the wrong, screw you. You're the enemy. We're through the looking glass. We're done talking about it in any level of half measure. to which I don't believe I've ever spoken about it in any level of half measure. You're wrong. And Jake Tapper saying, well, we got to be aware of the pronouns. No, we don't. That's mental illness. And that is feeding into the mental illness, which is exactly the thing you cannot do. Exactly what was done to this boy, now man, now dead, after murdering two. Writing a manifesto. I hate the Jews. I hate this one. I hate that one. I hate the other one. A lot of hate, a lot of anger, nowhere to go with it. And a family structure and others who said, well, if this will make you feel better, go ahead. Change allegedly who you are. That'll make sense. No part of it makes sense. It is an obscenity. And yet still, we see people like the New York Times on social media, writes the New York Times, some conservative activists have seized on the shooter's gender identity to broadly portray transgender people as violent or mentally ill. The police did not provide any motive for the attack, but they write the name Ms. Extensive social media history was a contradictory catalog of anger and grievance. Of course, there was a motive, mental illness that manifested in this transgenderism because people bought into the mental illness and supported the mental illness as opposed to getting this young man help. That's what happened. You bet your bottom dollar we're going to talk about gender identity and the issues there of abusing and manipulating and hurting children. Because that's what's happened here. The New York Times doesn't want to admit it. Screw the New York Times. They're not the paper of record anyway. This is their headline. Minneapolis suspect knew her target. Her target. They're still doing this. Minneapolis suspect knew her target, but motive is a mystery. Motive is not a mystery. How is the motive a mystery? Mentally ill person does mentally ill thing. Mentally ill person was told, if you just do this to yourself, everything will be fine because you're really this, and we're going to buy into your mental illness, and it didn't make everything good. They weren't happy. They couldn't find their way to happiness. Everything was about anger. Everything was about vitriol. Everything was about destruction. Every last thing. A rifle, a shotgun, a handgun, all utilized in this attack. Looking up other shooters and still saying, as the New York Times is, we're not sure of the motive. We all know the motive because we don't lie to ourselves like Jake Tapper lies to you. So let's start where we need to start. Let's start where we need to start. We have a society of progressives that thinks it's okay to abuse children and use the terminology of gender affirming care. What they have claimed is that if you do not allow a child to do this, they will kill themselves. If you follow this show at all, you know that that is a lie. It has always been a lie. The want to harm oneself comes from within. It does not get fixed from the outside. It gets fixed from the inside. I speak as somebody who battled the depression. I speak as somebody who went through the suicidal thoughts. You can dial 988. I believe that's now the suicide prevention hotline. I never made that call. If you need to, go ahead, do it. Stop listening to me and go make that call. It gets better. I'm right here. Yours might get better than mine. You might not get as good as mine. My experience is that it gets better. Being suicidal is awful, horrible, and horrific. And days upon days and weeks upon weeks, how could I do this and not have my wife come in and find me? What is the note that I leave? What is the barrier? Oh, that happened. That happened for a long time. Got better. That didn't happen from some external force or some change in my makeup. Externally, it happened from within. What is wrong with me. What is it that I'm experiencing? And how do I find a better way to channel that thing? Not to make it disappear. I don't know if it ever disappears, but a better way to channel it, work with it, engage with it. That can happen. That's number one. But when you lie and say this magic elixir will take care of you, gender affirming care is nothing more than snake oil. And the snake oil salesman just wants to sell you snake oil. And the adult who wants to abuse children gets off on abusing children. And we don't have any place for them in our society. And it's us or them, and I choose us. And they can run for cover. Whether they're doctors or teachers or anything else, they call themselves professionals. They're abusers. We should call them abusers. And I should be also clear that there are parents who are dealing with this social contagion, because that's all it is. If you think there are this many transgendered people with gender dysphoria in America, you're kidding yourself. It is a statistical anomaly. It is all insanity. It is social contagion, and we all know it. We all know it. So let's start saying so out loud with a lot of force behind our voice. But there are parents going through this and trying to figure out how they keep hold of their kids. That's real. I feel for them in a way I cannot properly describe. But parents who allow their kids to do this and support their kids doing this, it is abuse. And we wouldn't let a parent punch a kid in the face and let that kid stay with that parent. What exactly do we think we're doing? Oh, because a doctor said so? Doctors who support gender affirming care are abusive doctors who should not be allowed to practice medicine in the United States. Zero practice. Cannot get mentally healthy from the external. It must come from inside. And we must deal with mental illness with recognition, not with platitudes. It must be dealt with honesty, not with snake oil. This murderer, whose name I don't use, I don't give credit to these things. This murderer wrote, I can't cut my hair now. I only keep the long hair because it is pretty much my last shred of being trans. I am tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself. Continuing, I can't cut my hair now as it would be an embarrassing defeat, and it might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. It just always gets in my way. I will probably chop it on the day of the attack. This planned attack. Now, he later wrote that I regret this and I wish I was a girl. So again, the mental illness at play, which does not go away. If we are not honest with ourselves and our society and what we are allowing to happen at the hands of progressives, well, then we're going to be destroyed. We're going to lose society from the inside out. That's what's going to happen. We're going to lose society from the inside out if we are unwilling to protect children. We have no shot. And to do so, we must look at those people like Jake Tapper, like the crying Jen Psaki. She actually cried, like the embarrassment of a mayor, Jacob Frey, and like the twisted lieutenant governor of Minnesota wearing a t-shirt that says protect trans kids that has a knife on it, like she's somehow tough.
Because let's be clear, this is life affirming and life saving healthcare. When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen and to believe them.
You are a disgusting, terrible person. You are wrong. You are engaged in an act of true violence against children. You are engaged in hatred of children. No, it is not the job of the parent to listen and believe them. It is to be honest with them and tell them, no, you're not a girl, you're a boy. You're not a boy, you're a girl. It is to always be the touchstone of honesty that allows them to have an understanding of what's happening in the world around them. It is not life-saving care. It destroys the mind and the soul and society. You are wrong. It is despicable. It is reprehensible what it is that you are saying and you are offering. You are wrong, Lieutenant Governor, and you have to lose. This is a fight for the soul of America. This is the fight for the soul, period. This is whether or not we survive. This right here. And you have to lose. Let's make sure at the ballot box that happens. No harm should come to the Lieutenant Governor. No harm should come to those people who believe ridiculous things. But we should be changing rules and laws today. Amazingly, we have to do this to protect children. For those people who want to engage in mutilating children, there should be jail time. We should not shy away from this. And we should be supportive of those kids who have been down this road and realize, I have made a mistake. No shunning, no shaming, no embarrassment. It's okay. Let's get you what you need to help get you back on a path to an enjoyable life to the best of your ability. The people who support gender-affirming care are monsters. We should say so. The people who are politicos and support it should lose elections. It is our job to protect children, more often than not from themselves, but certainly from the predator adults, whether they be in academia or in medicine. Let's start doing that. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back. Tony Katz Today. The voice is a little better than yesterday. Not perfect. So it's not you. It's me right there. I'm wearing my Fletterman Von Rees. That's the Rudin record. That is the chronograph. You can get that by going to Von Reest, R-I-E-S-T-E. Go to vonreest.com. Use promo code CATS and get your discount. Assembled in the United States right here in Indiana. Spectacular timepieces. I love it. Absolutely love it. Von Reest, R-I-E-S-T-E, vonreest.com. Use promo code CATS. Get your discount. You've earned it. You deserve it. So White House briefing happening at 1 o'clock. That's going on. We will bring that to you. Of course, your comments. Yeah, I don't know who the hater was. They're in the chat, but they're gone. People do what they do. I think as you guys have been here and have allowed the show to grow, people are like, oh, look, something new for us to attack because we have nothing better in our lives. And so that's what happens. That's what happens. Anyway, excuse me. Arturo Fuente. This is the masterpiece. No, the Hemingway. Sorry, this is the Hemingway. The masterpiece is the 9-inch. Now, the Hemingway masterpiece Maduro. By the way, this is an excellent cigar. This is really a terrific cigar to solid price point. The Hemingways, the masterpieces, they're 9-inch cigars, 8.5 inch. 9. The Maduro, I mean the natural too, but the Maduro is the best bang for the buck in all of cigars. Period. Spectacular. $25, 9-inch cigar, 3-hour smoke. Unbelievable. And sometimes you can find it for 20. All day, no questions asked. Spectacular. Anyway, we're back to the show. A quick story about Iowa. And the reminder that when you say, my gosh, look at what's happening with the registrations and look how Democrats are losing. Well, there is certainly a reason for that. How can you be around people who can't even accept the idea that fighting crime is a good idea? They won't accept it. They don't accept fighting crime is worthwhile. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. They have to be anti-Trump all the time. It's no way to live. It really isn't. It's just, it's got to be horrifying every day to wake up with that feeling. But there was a special election that took place in Iowa. It was a state race. And in this state Senate race, the Democrat won by 9 points. And you say, okay, Democrat won by 9 points. This is Iowa. That Trump took by 11. That means this person had a swing of 20 points. 20 points. 20. Trump is still popular. But not Republicans. Republicans have still a branding issue. They still have a marketing issue. They still have not done things of their own accord to give people reason to say we're voting for Republicans. Right now, it's still Trump. The registration switch is because the Democrats are crazy. But now you got to get those people out to the polls. And that comes from action. And that action comes from states as well. And because this seat flipped, Republicans no longer have the supermajority in Iowa. Now, it's not all bad because when you lose a supermajority, maybe you'll actually work harder. Maybe you'll work harder. It's not a bad thing. Maybe it's a valuable thing. Maybe we'll get something better because of it. But don't confuse Trump's popularity with Republican popularity. And don't think you're going to walk into 2026 and it's going to be a cakewalk. Work hard, campaign hard. This is Tony Katz today. Now, producer Landon, I got a message here from John. You are still streaming on the WIBC channel. So WIBC is my home station in Indianapolis. Are we having a problem on the air? Would you, though? All right. So I'm not sure if that's what you meant, John. You're still streaming. Because, yes, we should be everywhere, dang it. Absolutely everywhere. What else you guys got for me? Thank you, man. What else do you guys have going on? You've got questions. I have got answers. Just taking a look at some news. What's going on? Is there anything else I need to pick up? Any late breaking? What do I have? Oh, yeah. We're running out of cottage cheese. I do have the hard hitting, boo. That I have. I've got that story. An interesting thing about JD Vance, about the Zelensky dust up. I want to get into that as well. I don't know if I'm going to have the chance. I don't know if I'm going to have the chance. Meanwhile, I've got your questions as well. I'm happy to answer those. Producer Landon is checking to make sure that we're still on the air. I mean, I'm going to keep going here no matter what. We just straight till morning. Grocery prices, I explain it. Okay, to the best of my ability. Are we on the air, Producer Landon? Okay. Okay, weird. All right. I explain grocery prices. I'll do what I can here to the best of my ability. If everything costs more, then everything costs more. If the feed costs more, if the labor cost is more, if the taxes on the farm is increased, the food prices will increase. Secondly, if you allowed increases to take place post-COVID or during COVID, and there is no demand for them to resettle, people will try to get away with these prices for as long as they can. Eventually, complaints will come. And most importantly, inflation still exists in the marketplace. It's why I don't think we should be lowering interest rates, although I think it is going to get lowered. I keep vacillating because I'm like 50-50. Like, it isn't going to happen. It is going to happen. It isn't. Debbie, the car. I find myself changing on this one, and I should just be like, yeah, I have no idea what these people are going to do. They're all nuts. But the inflation is still in the system. The inflation's still in the system. So therefore, everything is more expensive. And tariffs, even though they don't always affect, for example, agriculture, we don't think of it in that way. Tariffs affect everything. Absolutely everything. So that's that. Oh, also, Landon, we have an update there it is. Thank you, Stephen, and thank you. Who else wrote that? All right. Oh, and John, thank you guys. I'm taking care of us. Let's go do some radio, shall we? Ask your questions. I will answer them here. Happy to do it. So I had somebody in the chat room ask me, can you explain grocery prices? I'm like, I can explain grocery prices. I can explain grocery prices in terms of the cost of everything is up. So therefore, groceries are up. If it costs more to feed the cattle or to provide for the agriculture, the fruits and the vegetables, it's going to cost more. The labor costs more. Then you have anything tariff related that could be utilized in the raising of livestock or the growing of food. And then most importantly, inflation is still here. It's still here. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Honestly, guys, this is fun. You know what? I'm thinking about doing this for a living. I don't know about you, but I think I'm onto something. I found a job where I can talk and smoke cigars at the same time. No, just me. Also, I believe I have a whole new soundboard. I don't know where I gotta find it, but supposedly, allegedly, according to sources, I have a whole new soundboard. I'll get to that. So the inflation is still there. And yes, I should be clear when we talk about grocery prices that there are those who raise their prices in the world of COVID and it hasn't come back down. They're trying to create a new normal. I believe that can be dealt with through speaking out openly against it. One of the places this is happening, I know it's going to sound very, very weird, is Vegas. And the whole resort fee nonsense. The resort fee is insane. What do you mean I spend an extra $40 a night and you don't even have a pool? What is this craziness? It's garbage. It's theft. We don't tell you the room is this, and then we charge you this thing. It's garbage. People don't want it. Also, there's a real pushback in Vegas to the price of everything. So, quickly, I attend this yearly cigar conference, Premium Cigar Association. You guys know I have a show called Eat, Drink, Smoke, eatdrinksmokeshow.com. I host the largest cigar and bourbon radio review program in the country. In addition to this show, in addition to the morning show, in addition to TV stuff. Honestly, it ain't a bad gig. It's a lot, but it's not a bad gig. And so I'm a big fan of cigars and really the art of cigars and the theory behind it, right? The whole philosophy of the smoke and the concept, because it's a weird thing that people do and I do, but there's a reason for it and there's a whole thing about it. So there's this conference where you have all the cigar manufacturers and all the cigar retailers, and it's nothing but like a 2 square miles of people smoking cigars and figuring out what they want for their shop. It is cigar porn. It's fantastic. It is an amazing thing to experience. I had brought this up for a reason because I was talking about prices. The price of cigars, it's really the direction I wanted to go in. The price of cigars has been going up. The price of cigars is going up because tariffs have gone up, because the box cost has gone up, all of these kinds of things. I'll get back to my original point later. They've gone up because of all these things, and certainly there are taxes in places. And so this is still an agricultural product. In the same way one could think about the groceries. There's an effect from all the other things that's taking place. And yet still with higher prices, the GDP last quarter was 3%. And now we learn that it's actually been revised upward.
Joining us now, CNBC's senior markets correspondent Dominic Chu, NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans, and also with us, the U.S. head of international wealth and private banking for HSBC, Raquel Oden. First, Dom.
My God, they needed a lot of people to tell you, the GDP was pretty good. The GDP was pretty good. By the way, I'll get to the conversation about Vegas in just a minute. I haven't forgotten what I was talking about. I wanted to move forward. So here comes the question, finally, from MSNBC. Mika Brzezinski there.
Tell us just the headlines on this morning's data. What does it mean?
Sure, Mika, Joe. So the 229,000 that you mentioned is 5,000 less than the prior week. So the number of people filing those first-time unemployment benefit claims, 229,000. That was slightly better, by the way, than the consensus estimate from economists, which was about 230,000. Meanwhile, you've also got a drop in the number of Americans filing for continued unemployment benefits. That so-called continuing claims number dropped by roughly 7,000 to a seasonally adjusted 1.954 million people. Now, what it says on balance about the economy is that the momentum is slowing down some. Not that there's a massive boom in jobs, nor a massive crash in jobs, but that the employment market is starting to get a little bit more static on a relative basis.
That's actually some really interesting and good news, because if we're like, okay, we're now moving on a regular clip, you don't have wild gesticulations, it's hot, it's cool, it's hot, it's cool. Now you can do some planning, And the Federal Reserve maybe could make some moves.
Now, that echoes some of the data and anecdotal stories that Americans have in the current economy, where employees are just not losing their jobs in droves, but at the same time, it's not the great resignation when they're actively quitting their jobs to get better ones, perhaps with higher pay. Meanwhile, there is not a surge in corporations also laying people off. At the same time, they aren't exactly out there hiring in droves as well.
They've already done the layoffs. They've already done the layoffs. See, now this is an interesting one. They've already done the layoffs, and that point is accurate. They are not doing the rehiring. They're actually quietly laying people off, and it needs to be looked at. It's, I talk about this economy not being great because it's not. The prices are still too high. Now I'll bring it back to the Vegas conversation. So I go to this cigar conference every year. This past year, it got moved. It wasn't in Vegas. It was in New Orleans. I couldn't go. People were thrilled it was in New Orleans. Why? Because you could actually afford to go out to dinner. Because Vegas has so inflated its prices, it's become impossible. So to this conversation about groceries and grocery prices being high and things being inflated, until people start saying this price isn't real, it's like that woman on the plane. These mother blanking prices are not real. Until people start doing that in droves about specific things, that people, the company is not going to take note. Vegas is starting to take note. And people are saying, why in the world are we having a conference in Vegas? Why in the world are we having this event in Vegas? It costs too much. Dealing with the unions in Vegas at the hotels, if you have to set up, dealing with the price of hotels and these nonsense resort fees, dealing with the price of a meal, it's not worth it. That has to happen on groceries. That has to happen on other things. Back to this story.
For the most part, people with jobs are just staying put where they are. Now, the other piece of data that we have is that the U.S. economic picture is getting a little bit better. Gross domestic product for the second quarter was revised higher to a gain of 3.3%.
All right, I'm out. I'm out. 3 point. Dr. Will, if you're listening, you have to call in right now. 3.3. That number is so good. That number is so strong. It makes no sense. Because this would be a quarter where tariffs are applied. And that means that people still engaged with the tariffs. We know that the retail spend was up. And it counters my argument of this economy isn't great. If it's not great, why is the GDP up? Why is the retail spend up? Come on, cats, stop being so negative. I'm not negative. The numbers tell me a story. And then you throw these numbers at me, and that's why I drink bourbon. Does not make sense. It's nuts. But so we're clear. 3.3. 3.3, bigger than life. Bigger than life. It's an incredible number. And I think that the take from Midwest Main Street is certainly different than the take on Wall Street. If I were to discuss anecdotally what I am seeing, what I'm experiencing, what people are telling me, because people do tell me things. If I listen to them, food's up, gasoline is up, their insurance is up, labor costs are up, everything is up. Everything. And I'm not sure how people are so easily getting around that or getting past that. I find that to be very counter in the anecdotal to what it is that we're hearing here. Because those numbers shared on MSNBC, they're incredible. By the way, Sam is leaving me a comment talking about the farmers The farm level has nothing to do with prices at the grocery store. The processor determines prices. I hear you. I hear you. I think that's a fine comment to leave me in, worthy of questions. I've given you my take on why groceries are higher. And parts of that, I think, are certainly accurate. And parts of it, certainly someone could say, actually, Tony, it's this, that, or the other. Let's dig in and find out. I'm happy to do it. Who should I talk to about it? You tell me. I'm in. I'll bring it to you. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Sorry, welcome back, guys. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. I get weird texts during the show, and one of the texts I'm getting right now is, hey, are these Cubans any good? And I'm like, I don't know. They look like nice guys. That was not it right there. Okay, so I don't know that one, but I know the Oyo de Monterey. Just enjoy them and stop complaining. Someone hands you a cigar, say thank you, and then take the cigar. That's a little bit of cigar etiquettes right there. Just giving you a little bit of etiquette, trying to help you out the very best I can. Now, where is this new soundboard that I'm supposed to have? Oh, okay, so I can add them here. Like I've got. Let's see if you can hear these. Do we have applause? Oh, I can add that. Okay. All right. So, and I've got this. Oh, we're adding a bunch of stuff. So, can you hear this? Okay. I've got. There you go. And I've got this. When am I going to use a gong? When am I ever going to use a gong? Right. That'll be it. Let's try this. Oh, it's doing. That never happens to me. That happens. Applause happens. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm going to use that right now. Bang. That's a gunshot? It's supposed to be a gunshot. No, that's terrible. Yeah, we don't need that. That one's gone. That one is gone right there. Here's a slide. I can find a place for that one. And then, of course, that is the husband of Mazie Hirono when he wakes up. No, I could have picked anyone. I went with Mazie Hirono right there. Not so good. That was good. All right, bring us back. Every time ESPN fires somebody, I wonder, what are we going to learn politically? Tony Katz today. What did they not like about this person? And so one of the things that happened is that over at ESPN, their NBA analyst, Doris Burke, has been removed from the NBA Finals team, and they're bringing up Tim Legler. Now, I think Legler's good. He's been with the network since the year 2000. But they're moving Burke down. Someone is going to scream sexism. Let him. It is imperative that we make the statement that just as you should be able to say a woman can do this, somebody who's black can do this, somebody who's Hispanic can do this, somebody who's Asian can do this, just as you should say that and recognize that and understand that without having any legislation forcing you into hiring. Sometimes you want somebody else. Sometimes it turns out they can't do it well. Sometimes, like all people, they get fired. If you tell me that they can't be fired because they are a woman, they are black, they are gay, they are this, they are that, they are the other, they're your mother, well, then we have a problem, because that's not the way the world works. That is beyond nonsensical. But I'm just curious, because it's ESPN, because everything they do is so outrageously political. What are we going to find out about Doris Burke's politics? It's not that I'm asking about her politics. I never would have thought to even bring her up on the show. But you get rid of Sage Steele, and you know why. You've seen this with people like Kurt Schilling and others. You know why. So I'm curious if that's going to be the case. And an interesting story about Stellantis, specifically Chrysler, because Stellantis, as an auto manufacturer, has just been getting punched in the face. They did this to themselves. Really, really bad work. Shoddy work. Bad leadership. Was it Carlos Tavares? And dealerships were like, we're doing terrible. You're not building a good product. Why aren't you marketing better? And he was like, hey, I'm the CEO. You just sit back and let me do my work. Well, they pushed him out. And they've been trying to figure out how they get back to some level of square. There is a rumor that they're bringing back the Chrysler 300. And when you take a look at the styling of this, it looked like a Lincoln Continental, and one of the new ones meets a Tesla. That's how I describe it. It ain't bad. Now, I don't know where the sedan is in people's minds anymore. I think so many people have moved to the SUV of some kind. But it looks good. If this is it, it looks good, but it won't come back till 2029. But they realize their mistake. Like, for example, this idea of being more electric. They're now saying, no. We're into gas-powered engines. We're bringing back the Hemi, the 5.7-liter V8, doing those kinds of things. Yes, which you need to. By the way, there's also a 485 horsepower Hemi 6.4-liter. I think 485 is a nice bit of horsepower. I don't know about you. I don't know what it is you want. I'm good with that. That would be enough for me. So I like to see this, and remember, this is Stellantis, so it's not really, an American car, but Chrysler is an American brand. I only hope that this is what continues. This recognition that if you want to go electric, go right ahead. You can't force people into electric. That whole methodology failed. And if Elon Musk is evil and I've got Democrats trading in their Teslas for Chevy Tahoes, let's never revert back, please. White House press briefing up next. I'm Tony Katz. All right. Is what Arnold Schwarzenegger? Did I have a sound that sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Oh, the Screaming Man? No, I don't think that's him. I do somewhere have Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, "Who is your daddy?" I have that. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. That's a good one. Let me see if I can load that up right there. Let's see. Export that. And boom. And then we'll bring it here. And we'll go here. Or do I put that under sounds now? Okay, maybe that's what I do. More sounds. I can add a sound. And hold on, I'll find it. I'm doing it. Guys, I'm doing it right now. Don't rush me. As fast as I go. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Oh, here. Oh, come on. Why would an error occur? Is it because it's because it's saved wrong? It's so good. It's so good. I use this on my morning show. That's why. Got it. All right, I'll fix that. I will fix that. And then here's what we're gonna do. So the radio show is in break. Right? So we're going to go into break. That's how this works. And we take a breather and we take a breath and we take a beat. And then we'll come back. We've got the press briefing that's going on. And so we will cover that completely. There's going to be a lot today, a tremendous amount from the press briefing happening today. Let me get this now because I've got it now. And boom, there it is. See, there we go. Now there it is.
Who is your daddy? Who is your daddy? Who is your daddy? Who is your daddy?
Like I'd ever let you down. Like I'd ever let you down. My goodness gracious. Right there. Right? By the way, get to the chopper. If you want to find that, wow, producer Landon, don't do that impression again. If you want to find that about the chopper, do Arnold Schwarzenegger and the chopper. And if you have any thoughts on other sounds I should add, you tell me. I'll get that done. So let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can move this. Into sounds. Nope. Okay. So we'll do that. You guys stay here, hang loose. We'll be back in just a few. Smoke them if you got them. No, seriously. Seriously, smoke them if you got them. Welcome back. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you, everybody. We're getting ready for the press briefing. We're talking about the White House daily briefing. Caroline Levitt, the stage there. Let's see what we've got going on. It's not yet together. Let me bring it up right here. As you can see, they've got an interview with Stephen Moore going on there from Heritage Foundation, the economist Stephen Moore. They've got a lot to discuss, a lot to go over. Russia, Ukraine, the shooting that took place, transgenderism is going to come up. You know that it will, or certainly should. Economics, I'm sure will be on there. It's a packed house there at the briefing and coming back to the radio show. Let's make that happen. Smoke them if you got them. Glad you guys are here. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. White House press briefing is coming up. We've got it. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do at TonyKatz.com. Now, the press briefing, there's a lot. There is a lot that they have got in this briefing. There's an economic conversation for sure with the GDP, as we discussed, being revised upward to 3.3%. There could be a lot of crowing about that. And you can't blame them. It doesn't tell the totality of a story, but you can't be surprised by it. You're going to have the discussion of what took place in Minneapolis and the murders that took place there. Is this White House going to address the transgenderism? Are they going to address mental illness? Then you've got Russia, Ukraine, and how there's no deal in sight, even though they thought there was a deal in sight, because Russia is not interested. So how do you make that happen? How do you get them to the table on this subject? And those are just some of the things that are going to come up. And we're going to have more. Now, before we get to the press briefing, I'm going to share with you one of the more nonsensical things that is going on. This is the Jew-hating bigot Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan Omar is on MSNBC, and they're discussing, right, she's a congresswoman from Minnesota, discussing what took place in the murders there from somebody who was mentally ill, claiming to be a woman when they were a man. The manifesto is just showing tremendous amounts of hate all the way across the board, but wanted to kill kids. Listen.
Congressman, what does that action look like? The last time that there was a gun prevention bill was in 2022. President Biden signed that into law. It was bipartisan in nature. But this administration, just last month, it was reported in Reuters that the Trump administration slashed federal funding for gun violence prevention. I'm going to read something to you. The Trump administration has terminated more than half of all federal funding for gun violence prevention programs in the U.S., cutting $158 million in grants. A DOJ official told Reuters the gun violence.
If Reuters is writing this, they could have been funding for a whole bunch of things that were cut, and this is what they cherry picked out of it. So I'm not taking that as the gospel there. I have no reason to take that as the gospel there. But this is the response from Ilhan Omar.
I do, but we also have to understand that we live in a union. In Minnesota, we have strong gun laws, but Indiana is not that far away from us. And so we have to recognize as, people who live in the United States, a community like Minneapolis or just the state of Minnesota taking action does not prevent our neighbor from coming and harming one of our community members.
We're not responsible. I live in Indiana. We're not responsible for what happened from this murderer in Minneapolis who was told, oh, sure, you could be a woman, who was mentally ill, and nobody actually worked on the mental illness. All they did was feed into the mental illness. We are not responsible. You want to blame Hoosiers? To hell with you, Representative. That's not factual, and that's not honest. By the way, we're a couple states away. Right, we're over here, and then we've got Illinois right next to us, and then you're over here, right? We're over here. You're here. It's a distance. No one ever said, it'd be a nice day trip, Minneapolis. I have lived here for 11 years. No one has ever said this. Indiana gun laws. What? We don't have background checks? Of course we have background checks. Everybody has background checks. Because we support the Second Amendment here. If you had more people at the church supporting the Second Amendment, this guy would not have gotten off a shot. And if he had gotten off the first shot, you would have been able to stop him at the second. The third, you would have been able to stop him. You would have had a chance to stop him. You could have had an opportunity to stop him. This guy got to reload and utilize different weapons. Tell me how your gun-free zones worked out. Real world is happening. And in the real world, people do have firearms. We support the Second Amendment. We don't support the murder of children. We support the Second Amendment. How about we discuss all the people who are pushing gender-affirming care? Are you a state that supports gender-affirming care? Look what you did in leading to the murder of these children. The difference between our arguments is that my argument would be accurate. And your argument's an obscenity. Now, this blaming Indiana thing, this is what Illinois does. Indiana ain't your problem. You only wish you were Indiana. We have a Second Amendment. We utilize the Second Amendment. We have laws here about how you carry a firearm. What's the issue? The issue is not me, a law-abiding citizen. The issue is not the millions of law-abiding gun owners. It's not the issue. The gun is not the issue. Let's say it again for the people in the cheap seats. The gun is not the issue. You're wrong. Let's fight. I don't want to say, well, here is their argument. Their argument is somehow you should not be allowed to have a gun. And they think they can go door to door and collect your guns. Now, I don't know how they're going to do that, but I have always said this goes as a takeoff of an argument from Charles C.W. Cook over at National Review. Try it. If you think you can go door to door and grab all the guns, go ahead. Let's see what happens. But how are you going to get the guns from Trinidad? How are you going to get the guns from gangs? How are you going to get the guns from criminals? How are you going to do this? I want you, Ilhan Omar, representative from Minnesota, pseudo-intellectual. I want you to explain how that's going to work. I'll wait. No. I know, seriously. We've got time, right? We've got time to figure this out. You can explain to me how you're going to do this. How is it possible that you are now going to get all of these guns off the streets from the criminal element? I put forth to you that you can't do it, that you have no capacity to do such a thing. And you are going to leave American citizens in a world of hurt. You're going to leave them defenseless and helpless, which far too often seems like the goal. Don't blame Indiana, because you are a state with a lieutenant governor that says boys can be girls and girls can be boys and pushes this gender-affirming mutilation. You're to blame if we're going to be assessing blame. The White House press conference will start in just a couple minutes. I'll have it for you. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. And sure, I go to break, and here comes Caroline Levitt, but I bring it to you because I adore you.
At the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where a deranged shooter opened fire during morning mass, killing an innocent 8-year-old and 10-year-old. 14 other children and 3 adults were also injured during this horrible tragedy. This was the first morning mass of the school year for these beautiful, innocent children, and this sacred religious service was desecrated by an evil monster. We are all eternally grateful to the heroic law enforcement officers and first responders whose courage and swift response aided all of those impacted by this horrible tragedy. As Director Kash Patel confirmed yesterday, the FBI is currently investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. President Trump signed a proclamation yesterday following his call with the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, acknowledging the victims and their families and directing flags to be flown at half-mast. President Trump and the First Lady encouraged the entire nation to join all of us in praying for the victims and their families as they face unimaginable grief and loss. The White House and the FBI will continue to provide further updates as they become available. I also have a quick scheduling announcement for you today. The President will travel to New York City on September 22nd to address the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, September 23rd. On another matter, as Americans make their Labor Day weekend travel plans, they will be able to enjoy 5-year low gas prices thanks to President Trump fully unleashing American energy dominance. President Trump ended Joe Biden's Green New Scam policies and is delivering on his promise to make America affordable.
It was one heck of a transition
These
from
savings
Minneapolis
at the pump
to,
are giving
oh, by the way,
everyday
Biden
American
sucks.
families more room in their budgets at the end of each month, which is the exact opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. And as we commemorate Labor Day this year, We finally have a president who fights and delivers for the American worker every single day. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy and our national identity, which is why he's championed an agenda that puts them first always. For decades, the hardworking men and women of our country who built the greatest nation in world history were sold out by selfish, greedy, short-sighted globalists who put our country on a path to economic and cultural ruin. They hollowed out our factories and towns and betrayed the American working class by shipping jobs overseas and importing millions of low-wage migrants to replace American workers. Under President Trump, this national disgrace is over. American workers are, once again, being put at the center of national trade policy, and the dignity of American labor is being defended. As a result, President Trump has already brought in nearly $10 trillion in new private and foreign investments so that the top businesses in the world can create high-paying jobs in America and hire American workers to fill
Come back
them.
to the radio show,
In
so I'll have
fact,
some
since
commentary
President Trump took office, the economy has added more than 500,000 new jobs to the workforce. In a stark reversal from the Biden administration, all of that job creation has been driven by private sector growth, and all employment gains have gone to native-born Americans. Wages for blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in the past 60 years. And the average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year alone. Thanks to the largest middle tax cuts ever signed into law by President Trump, with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, Americans in all 50 states will keep more of their hard-earned money. The average American taxpayer will see a tax cut of nearly $4,000 because of these pro-growth provisions, according to analysis from the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation.
So that's Caroline Leavitt. The White House press briefing has begun. Tony Katz today. She started, of course, discussing what happened in Minneapolis, the investigation there, looking at it as, according to her, the FBI looking at this as a hate crime against Catholics. Those were her words, discussing the thoughts of the president and the first lady, then talking about how the president will be addressing the United Nations coming up on September 23rd. Look forward to that. And now discussing some basic economic news. We bring it back to the press briefing. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. Glad you're here. Back to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
18%. These numbers prove the president's bold actions to make D.C. safe and beautiful again are working, just like he said they would. And that's why on Monday, the president took additional action to sign an executive order taking steps to ensure that cashless bail in Washington, D.C. is eliminated. For too long, D.C.'s reckless cashless bail policies have allowed dangerous criminals to be quickly released, which endangers everyone who lives in and visits our wonderful capital. No cash bail has also foolishly forced law enforcement to repeatedly arrest the same offenders over and over again, only for them to be released back into our nation's capital. This is the definition of insanity, and the president is seeking to end it. He also signed a separate executive order addressing the crime emergency in D.C. by instructing the National Park Service to hire additional United States Park Police officers to support public safety, and directing the U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. to hire additional prosecutors to focus solely on violent and property crimes. So while liberal Democrats across the country continue to double down on their failed soft on crime approach, the American people, including local D.C. leadership, business owners, and residents, are rallying behind President Trump's crime crackdown. According to new polling, 81% of Americans say crime is a major problem in large cities across the country.
Now, this is absolutely accurate. It is noticed by people, and it is the Democratic Party that is somehow putting themselves on the side of, oh, things aren't so bad. It is surreal. If you missed it, my conversation with Bob Brooks of Newsmax in the next hour to discuss exactly that. Back to Caroline Leavitt.
Her store was robbed so many times that they had to spend exorbitant sums of money on security, jeopardizing her family's financial future. But thanks to President Trump's strong action, Indu said, quote, "All of my employees, including me, we feel much safer, and even our customers feel really happy when they walk into our store." And just yesterday, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser credited President Trump for surging federal law enforcement personnel and said neighborhoods, quote, "feel and are much safer." We thank Mayor Bowser for her cooperation and her willingness to help us make DC safe and beautiful. This entire effort has vindicated what President Trump and law and order advocates have been saying for years. And this is our message to Americans in Democrat-run cities nationwide. Decline is a choice. You don't have to live in constant fear of being robbed, raped, or murdered. Your leaders are lying to you, and they have been failing you for decades. The President Trump approach of upholding law and order by letting our brave men and women in blue actually do their jobs to aggressively fight crime works. In just a few weeks, President Trump has done more for DC residents than Democrats did in 50 years.
You understand what that is, right? That's Caroline Leavitt letting Republicans know, here are the lines you need to use for re-election. Say this. This is the line. This is what we're using. Everybody get on board. That's exactly what that is.
And for every law-abiding American citizen across the country to be able to thrive in their city and in their community. With that, I'll take questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have social media influencer, content creator, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you kick us off?
Well, Caroline, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody that follow me, the millions of people that follow me, I want to say thank you for making a sacrifice and dealing with some of the most disingenuous people on planet Earth at times. I have two questions. The first question is associated with the shooting that occurred the other day. And I want to ask the question of, we know that it's not a gun thing. Any rational person knows it's not a gun thing. We know it's a mental health issue. So I want to know from you, what is President Trump and the White House going to do to address mental health issues around the country associated with these shootings? And the second thing is Chicago. You know, anybody with, and I say, with a connected brainstem knows that Chicago's crime is out of control. And young black men are getting killed, laying dead in the middle of the streets every single day in Chicago. No president has addressed any of these issues. And so what is the White House going to do to address issues in their capacity to deal with the conflict and violence in Chicago?
Sure. Well, to your first question about this shooting in Minnesota, right now, the administration is focused on helping the people of Minnesota. It's been less than a day, of course, since this tragedy happened. We have federal law enforcement on the ground assisting local law enforcement. This investigation is ongoing. There's still a lot of facts to understand about these circumstances, and so we're going to continue to do that. As for Chicago and cracking down on crime, it is a priority of this administration to ensure that American cities are safe again, and I'm so glad that you brought up the crime in Chicago, because we've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 16% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. There have been more.
She's reading that right off the page. Oh, she wanted this. It was going to come eventually. She was going to pivot to this directly at Pritzker, directly at Brandon Johnson. Hey, this is why we need to intervene in Chicago. Look at the numbers. Why are you treating people like this? This was, whether Tatum there, Brandon Tatum, asked the question or not, this was going to be said at this press conference.
Law-abiding American residents in the city of Chicago, and we hope that he will. Gabe, and thanks for being here, Brandon. Gabe.
Caroline, thank you so much. First on the firing of the CDC director. First,
sure.
Who will replace her? And then also, overnight, the White House said that she did not align with the president's agenda. Dr. Menard's attorneys say that she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fired dedicated health experts. What specifically did she do wrong?
Look, what I will say about this individual is that her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't. So the president fired her, which he has every right to do. It was President Trump
And the
who
president
was
does have
overwhelmingly
the right
reelected
to do
on November
so.
5th. This woman has never received a vote in her life, and the president
Somehow
has the
believes
authority to fire
that
those
their
who are not aligned
job
with his
is
mission.
to
A new
act in
replacement will be
counter,
announced by either the president or the secretary
right?
very
Not
soon.
in counter, but
And the president
countering
and Secretary
what it is
Kennedy
the
are
White House
committed to
does.
restoring trust and
Give good
transparency and
advice,
credibility
be
to the
smart
CDC
about it.
by
But
ensuring
the
that
president
leadership in
has
their
a
decisions
vision, and
are
he
more
got elected.
public-facing, more accountable,
I'm not saying
strengthening
that
our
all of a
public
sudden
health
decide
system, and
that something that is
restoring to
unhealthy
its
is
core
healthy.
mission of
But when you're
protecting
the
Americans
organization
from
that told us we have to
communicable
be 6 feet
diseases,
apart from everybody,
investing in innovation
when that
to
wasn't
prevent,
the case,
detect, and respond to future
when you were
threats.
the
That's
organization
the
that wouldn't
mission
be
of the
honest
CDC, and we're going to make
about
sure that
origins
folks
via
that are in positions
Fauci,
of
right,
leadership there
which is really
are
above
aligned
the
with that
organization,
mission.
and or a different organization, and then
Last week, a
didn't
judge,
want to listen to people when they're like,
environmental
hey, tell us more
concerns
about this
last week
vaccines
said
and
that the
safety.
administration had 60 days to wind
What were
down
they
trade
aligned
their
with?
state officials did.
What possibly
The
were they
administration
aligned
has
with?
not been shy
This
in fighting
constant
back against
conversation
what
of
they call activist
the
judges.
Trump's just getting rid of
Why
anybody who
is it
doesn't agree with him.
backing down this time?
It's
We're
Trump's
not backing
administration.
down. We've always said that we are
But
going
we
to
should ask
continue to
ourselves
fight
what
in
it
the
is that
court
they're
of law
not
for
agreeing or
what's right,
disagreeing with.
because we know that what
And
this
if
administration
it didn't
is
happen
doing
under
with respect
Biden,
to
shouldn't
all
it
policy,
have?
but also immigration
Shouldn't have
policy,
someone said,
is
hey,
on
listen, the
above
6
the
foot thing is
books,
total
and we're abiding
nonsense.
by
This
our
isn't
nation's
real.
immigration laws, and
This
we
is
think
made
it's
up
despicable
because it was
that
made
an
up.
activist judge
That would have been
has
nice.
inserted themselves
Back to the
in
pressure.
this migrant detention facility to the point where DHS is now having to relocate these illegal immigrants to other detention facilities around the country. That is an unnecessary burden on the Department of Homeland Security and these agents who should be removing these criminals from our community. That's what the American people elected this president to do. So we've always maintained, Gabe, we're going to comply with court orders, but we're also going to fight back on them on the merits of the law. And DHS is in compliance while we disagree with this decision, and we'll continue to fight it in court.
And keep fighting it. And keep up the deportations of people who are here illegally. Absolutely. Press conference continues. I will bring you more of it as more of it happens. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Keep it right here. This is Tony Katz Today.
Changes there at CDC in addition to that firing, and
I'll let
is
this
the
play, guys.
administration going through in a very sort of organized fashion? Is there a task force that's going through high-level appointees to see who is or isn't aligned with the mission? Like, should we expect more changes?
Not to my knowledge. I understand there were a few other individuals who resigned after the firing of Ms. Monarez. One of those individuals wrote in his departure statement that he identifies pregnant women as pregnant people. So that's not someone who we want in this administration anyway. So if people are not aligned with the president's vision and the secretary's vision to make our country healthy again, then we will gladly show them the door.
Caroline, can I just
go to the back?
Thank you, Caroline.
Go behind you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. The military deployment that President Trump has sent to the Caribbean Sea close to the shores with Venezuela is massive. It's much more that is needed to simply counter narcotics operations. Is President Trump considering launching military strikes to military installments or facilities in Venezuelan soil?
I won't get ahead of the president with respect to any military action or questions about that ever. But what I will tell you is that many Caribbean nations and many nations in the region have applauded the administration's counter-drug operations and efforts, and the president is prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. And as I've said from this podium before, the Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. Maduro is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this drug cartel. He has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into our country, and it is the utmost responsibility of this president and this administration to prevent the illicit flow of drugs into our country and to protect citizens from those deadly poisons. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
Democrats, including former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, attacked prayer and pushed gun control in the aftermath of yesterday's shooting. What's the White House's response to their comments?
Yes, I saw the comments of my predecessor, Ms. Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, when beautiful young children were killed while praying in a church. It's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves who need it right now more than ever.
Well, that's going to make the MSNBC headlines.
Glazed over the fact that the shooter was confused in their gender identity. Does the administration believe that this element needs to be investigated in the shooting?
All of the elements are being investigated in the shooting, absolutely. Which is why part of the reason the FBI director came out and immediately confirmed that facet of the investigation. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions on two separate issues. First of all, the drone and missile strikes that took place overnight in Ukraine. General Keith Kellogg,
it's going to be interesting.
The president's special envoy, has described these attacks as egregious. Do you agree with that description, and do you view President Putin as an impediment to getting peace between these two countries?
Well, it's not about if I agree, it's about what the president thinks, and I know what the president thinks because I talked to him about this. He was not happy about this news, but he was also not surprised. These are two countries that have been at war for a very long time. Russia launched this attack on Kyiv, and likewise, Ukraine recently dealt a blow to Russia's oil refineries. They have taken out, as a matter of fact, 20% of Russia's oil refinery capacity over the course of their attacks throughout the month of August. So the president is continuing to watch this intently, and this killing, unfortunately, will continue as long as the war continues, which is why the president wants it to end. And that's why he's worked harder than anyone to end this war, which would have never started if he were president. But perhaps both sides of this war are not ready to end it themselves. The president wants it to end, but the leaders of these two countries need it to end and want it to end, must want it to end as well. And I think the president will make some additional statements on this later.
My second question has to do with, I just had one more, if I may. It has to do with the president's intention to remove Lisa Cook as a member of the Federal Reserve Board. He is going or acting upon allegations that have been made by Trump administration official Bill Pulte. These are just allegations. She hasn't been convicted yet of any crime. Is the administration opposed to allowing Ms. Cook to have due process, to challenge what has been alleged against her?
I believe she is challenging it. I believe she just filed a lawsuit today, and Mr. Pulte has deferred those allegations over to the Department of Justice to investigate them. What I will say is that you had these mortgage receipts very clearly shown to the president, and he has the cause that he needs to fire this individual.
And he can, and that should be clear. The president can fire whom it is he chooses to fire. Tony Katz today. I go back to this argument when Alberto Gonzalez, who was the AG for George Bush, was firing people. You can't fire these people in the Justice Department. These people all work at the pleasure of the president. They have no special anything. And if the attorney general fires them, that's it. Go get a job in the private sector. Tony Katz. Did I say hello? I sometimes forget. Tony Katz today. There was also a conversation there about Russia and Ukraine. And I'm telling you, Trump, he said it the other day at the cabinet meeting. There's no deal to be made if Russia's not going to come to the table, and Russia's not interested. They really think they can win this thing. They don't think that NATO, which is now finally everybody paying their 2% of GDP into NATO, and President Trump wants to now up that to 5%, and some nations are moving in that direction, realizing that they've got a real problem. Putin doesn't think that there's going to be this force. He doesn't think the Europeans are going to do it. He doesn't think there's going to be a NATO force. So why shouldn't he just keep holding the land, keep lobbing missiles, keep engaging drone attacks, and eventually outlast Ukraine? And then you see the picture of Putin and Xi Jinping and Modi of India all together, and you're like, this does have people concerned. I'm less concerned about the India-China relationship because India is not fools in thinking that China somehow is going to be some long-term friend. It's just not the way it works. But you're talking about a lot of people and a lot of oil. And it could be an issue and a destabilizing force for sure. And China is desperate to destabilize the United States. They want their spot on the top of the pecking order. It just doesn't work out well for anybody if they have it. It just doesn't. Back to the press briefing.
Here in D.C., and Ward 7 for threats to kidnap and injure, receiving stolen property, possession of a large capacity feeding device, unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. A search warrant was executed, 7 firearms were recovered, and the juvenile was arrested after an investigation was initiated based on social media posts allegedly threatening violence towards a school. So this was a juvenile who was a risk to not just himself, but the community here in Washington, and he was removed from the community last night because of the law enforcement efforts of this administration. And I would also point to the statement of our wonderful First Lady that she released yesterday. She wrote, "The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. We encourage all Americans, as the old saying goes, if you see something, say something. If you see warning signs or threats, report it to law enforcement." This administration, federal law enforcement, will take those reports and those threats seriously. They will be treated as a law enforcement emergency, and we will act accordingly.
Now, I don't like the idea of everybody narc on your neighbors. I do like the idea of, are you aware of what's happening with your own kids? Now, sometimes you're not. But is there an effort being put forth? Is there anything being done to say, hey, what about this behavior? Hey, what about this thing? And certainly, nothing can help if you are feeding into the mental illness, which we discussed earlier. One cannot feed into mental illness. You cannot say, well, if you think you're a girl, well, then you are. And we'll get you the surgery and you'll take these drugs. That's abuse. It's obscene and it has to stop. Back to the presser.
That announcement himself. Brian.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. Bouncing off the CDC, situation at CDC. I'm curious if administration officials are pushing back on the president's agenda, privately, publicly, however, should they fear to lose their jobs going forward?
Look, I think if you're doing your job well, and if you are executing on the vision and the promises that the president made to the public who elected him back to this office, then you should have no fear about your job. Just do your job. That's what this president wants to see. He wants to see people solving problems. He wants to see the people who have the privilege of serving the American taxpayer and the federal government abiding by the wishes of the American taxpayers who overwhelmingly reelected him in this cabinet to make America great again, or in this case, make America healthy again.
On the Intel deal, where the U.S. got a stake in that company, there's 2 things I want to ask about that. The first is, what did the U.S. get back in return for that deal? And the second thing is, what are the future plans for giving any form of money to another company? It could be through the CHIPS Act, like this deal, or some other form of funds. What are the plans there by this White House administration?
Well, look, as you know, Brian, very well, because you cover it often, the Intel deal is still being ironed out by the Department of Commerce. The T's are still being crossed, the I's are still being dotted. It's very much still under discussion. But the president's thinking, I can share with you, is certainly to ensure that the United States government is making our country wealthy again and is benefiting from some of these deals. And it's a creative solution. I know it's outside the box thinking, which is uncommon in this city, but it's something that he proposed and something that the Secretary of Commerce is working on putting into action.
I have to disagree. That the purchase of 10% of Intel by the U.S. is wrong. And I got asked on Newsmax the other day, I was only given 15 seconds. My thoughts on this. I said, they were talking about it, is this socialism? Of course, it's not socialism. Whoa. It's populism. Well, this is a big American company and we have to protect it and protect American jobs. No, there's no such thing as too big to fail. Intel is not a well-run company. It's not a well-organized company. It's not NVIDIA. It's not AMD. They are not doing the job, and it's not our job to prop them up. And so this is where I have a big divide with the president and populism. Our job is not to own it. We weren't supposed to invest in Solyndra. We're not supposed to do these things. We weren't supposed to engage bailouts. All of that is wrong. This move from President Trump on Intel is wrong. I'll say it. I'll say it again. I'll say it anywhere. It's because this is the belief of the populace that we're really keeping the country strong and helping things build. No, this is a bad idea, not what we're about, and is not in any way market-based where it should be. I'm happy to discuss this anytime. Back to the press briefing.
cliff, largely buoyed by a surge in capex. What's the White House reaction to this, and is this sort of the president's vision beginning to come to life after the beautiful bill is passed in July?
Yes, I mean, look, we did say that once the big beautiful bill was signed into law, we're going to see the effects of this massive pro-growth piece of legislation. As I laid out for you as we head into the Labor Day weekend, there's many positive economic indicators that the American people can be hopeful about. But don't forget, we are reversing 4 years of reckless spending from the previous administration, of slamming regulations down the throats of American business owners and consumers across the country. But the administration is working very hard to unravel all of that and to ensure that small business owners and workers are thriving and that they have more money in their own pockets to spend. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Back on the CDC, there was reporting that some of the initial problems between RFK and the CDC director stemmed from miscommunications or differences on vaccine policy. So I wonder if you could just say whether or not the president believes that the COVID vaccine should be available to and covered by insurance for all Americans, regardless of age and pre-existing conditions.
What I will tell you is that the FDA recently revoked the emergency use authorizations for 3 COVID vaccinations while simultaneously greenlighting 4 new COVID-19 vaccines with 2025 and 2026 formulas. The reason for the revocation of that emergency use authorization is because obviously the COVID pandemic and the public health emergency is over. But just to correct the record, because there's been a lot of misinformation on this, the FDA's decision does not affect the availability of COVID vaccines for Americans who want them. We believe in individual choice. That's a promise both the president and the secretary have made, and it's a promise they have now delivered.
It's a really interesting part of this conversation because there's so many people, oh, the vaccine is terrible. Look what it's done here, here, and here. But you heard President Trump just the other day talk about at the cabinet meeting, Operation Warp Speed, and how well it worked. And look how quickly we got this to market and we got this going. And he's proud of that. And if we take a look at it as conceptually, Operation Warp Speed was about changing the way we kind of do things. Hey, you need this help to get this done. Here you go. Not get it done and then we'll help you. We'll help you and then you get it done. It was this changing of the economics. And that was the really smart part of it, to speed up the doing. Now, as for the vaccines themselves, there's still plenty of people on all sides of the aisle who believe that the vaccines have provided value. I can still tell you doctors who believe that the vaccines absolutely helped without questions. Without question, they believe this to be true. That doesn't say that people who disagree and people who question the vaccine and people who pointed to efficacy, et cetera, don't have an argument. And the real story here is that during the Biden administration, those people weren't allowed to speak. And that was always wrong. On every level, that was wrong. People are allowed to vocalize dissent, to ask questions and say, wait a second, what about this? And those people were systematically shut down. And I believe that absolutely came from on high via the Biden administration, whether it was on Twitter then or Facebook or anywhere else. And that's obscene, and how the media worked not to share those other conversations and engage honestly about medical science. Despicable. Back to the press briefing.
Law enforcement, whether it's state, local, federal, to do their jobs, to arrest criminals, to put them behind bars, and to remove public safety threats from American communities. He'll continue to do that. Thank you, guys.
Sorry. It has been interesting that she has been 30 minutes and out. We do a press briefing for 30 minutes. I'm not answering any more questions. Out the door, gone. It's been interesting that she has, for the last couple of meetings, been just right to the number on that. I'm curious about the strategy, because usually it is answer everything. Go ahead. Get on it. More to say, more to put out there. I wonder if this is more a focusing of their messaging. Maybe this is a bit of learning. Interesting. It's certainly a more well-rounded press briefing than Karine Jean-Pierre ever gave. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Sorry, guys. Welcome back. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. I like sharing the press briefings. I like sharing the information. Like when the cabinet meeting happens, I do. I'm happy to do it. I disagree. I disagree that it's 30 minutes to avoid the Epstein questions. The questions are the questions. She's picking on people. How would she know? Are we saying that the questions are pre-selected? That does not seem to be the case by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't think that that's it. I mean, you could say it, but saying it doesn't make it true, right? I'm thin, son of a. See, just proven the point, right there. So tomorrow, who do we know who's in for me tomorrow? I think it's the last. Labor Day we're out, and so I think it's the last time I take off. There's one Jewish holiday, Yom Kippur, where I'll be out. I don't think I'm out again until like mid-November. At least that's the plan right now. I think this summer I took more time off this summer than I have in forever, because I was supposed to go visit my mother, and then I destroyed my arm. Right, I told you that story there. Tore the tendon that connects bicep to the arm, and I'm like, I'm not getting on a plane just yet. And then I was supposed to get on a plane, and then I forget what happened, and so I had taken some time off for that, and then didn't end up going. And then I actually went to go visit my mother because of my mom. I'm gonna go visit my mother. And so that was weird. And so this week's been a little off, but that was half planned and half taking advantage of some time with some family, which I could use and I want, and then really back to it. And then President Trump is now talking about doing a mid presidential election Republican conference. I think he just wants a celebration. I think he just wants a party. He likes it. He likes the events. He likes creating the energy. Do something to maybe really push the idea of the midterms, because I'm telling you, the registration thing is real, but the midterms locked up. Nope. Don't think that way. Do not think that the midterms are locked up. They are not. You have to go out there and fight like hell every single day, every single second of every day, in order to win these things. And then, of course, how does redistricting play in to the extent that it does? Meanwhile, back to the show. It turns out you can throw a sandwich at a cop and not get indicted. I am not suggesting you do such a thing. I think that's an outrageous waste of sandwiches. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. This guy in D.C. who threw a Subway sandwich at a cop and then ran. He ran. He was charged with a felony, but federal prosecutors could not secure a felony indictment. I'm sorry. You attacked a cop. That's not a felony? I don't know how it's not. I don't know how it could be that you can't get the indictment. Or are they now going to refile as a misdemeanor? What's if you had used your fist? Now, I'm not saying, again, don't do this. I'm saying don't do this. Do not do this. It's just a question of curiosity of, well, what would be something that would be felony? And then there's a shortage on cottage cheese, and you're all weird. There are a tremendous number of social media trends where people are utilizing cottage cheese, right? Where it's high in protein, low in sugar, and it's optimal for people who are on these GLP-1 kind of diets, right? Whether it's Zepbound, Ozempic, those kinds of things. And so everyone's saying cottage cheese It's the new superfood. And so they're making everything with cottage cheese. And there's a shortage of cottage cheese, which is a phrase I never thought I'd use in my life. Better a shortage of cottage cheese than a shortage of steak, even though beef prices are through the roof. And then there's the story that just like they were wrong on eggs and just like they were wrong on coffee, eating meat could protect against cancer-related death. It's a headline from Fox News. The study discovered that animal proteins offer protective benefits against cancer-related mortality. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to live forever. I'm here. It's happening. 50 years from now, I will be right here in the chair. You think I'll be still doing this in 50 years? Well, the odds I'm going to live another 50 years anyway. But it won't be because of steak, which is, for the record, delicious. It is delicious. And for Labor Day, I've got a brisket. I've got some tomahawks. It's going to be yummy. Very, very yummy. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, I appreciate you. I respect you. I can't thank you enough. And I must tell you, Von Riest, look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. Get your timepiece at vonriest.com. Built to last. Built for value. Assembled right here in Indiana, in the United States. Get yours. Go to Von Riest. Use promo code KATZ, K-A-T-Z. Incredible timepieces. Thrilled to be working with them, and so many cool things coming with them that I'm going to be doing down the line. Really incredible. As the holidays start approaching and you're looking for the right gift, Von Riest, R-I-E-S-T-E. Get something that is durable, that will pass down through the generations, that will tell your story. Go to Von Riest, R-I-E-S-T-E. Go to vonriest.com. Use promo code KATZ and get your discount. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. My beef sponsor, Defiance Beef. Ho, 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 ho. If you ever wanted to buy a cow, you know, like, hey, I want to buy a cow and fill my freezers, and know I have something of quality. It's this. It's Defiance Beef. Promo code Eat Drink Smoke. You quarter cow, half cow, a full cow, whatever you want that share to be. Use promo code Eat Drink Smoke. You're going to get $150 off. I've had the ribeyes, I've had the strips, I've had the ground beef, I've had the tenderloins, I've got a brisket that I'm doing different than this brisket, but I'm still doing their brisket. Incredible. Age 21 days, the tenderness, it is all there. The flavor's all there. DefianceBeef.com. Yeah. Well, don't pay the store prices. Don't. Grocery store prices for beef are insane. Do this. Go to DefianceBeef.com. How much are you looking for to stock your freezers and then have a steak, have ground beef, have quality beef anytime you want it for you and your family? Use DefianceBeef.com. Use promo code Eat Drink Smoke and get your discount. With that, guys, I appreciate you so very much, and I will catch you all. I'll actually be back on Tuesday. And don't forget to go to TonyKatz.com and get everything. I appreciate you. Talk to you then. Take care.